Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me today. My name is Gianna. I'm a partner and chief climate officer at Convincing Crypto, and I'm also the founder of a nonprofit climate education organization called Albedo Climate Solutions. I'll share my screen here. A little overview of what we're going to talk about today. I want to go over what cryptocurrency is, what climate justice is, what economic empowerment is. Want to go over what the issues are, and then how blockchain technology and cryptocurrency can be used to fight climate change and to fight poverty. Next. Okay, so what is cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency is essentially money that's digital, that's created from code. You eliminate the middleman. So it eliminates the big banks. It eliminates a lot of money embezzlement, actually, and it's secured by blockchain technology. So every single transaction is transparent on a blockchain, and it's encoded on basically a string of data. And a cryptocurrency is one little piece of the string of data that's a unit of money. So the people who keep the whole network running, they're either stake pool operators for something called proof of stake cryptocurrency, or you probably heard of crypto miners for a more energy intensive version. And those are the people who essentially keep the blockchain running, they keep it secure, and there's an algorithm that makes it so that they're rewarded for keeping the network secure. And I want to talk about, before solving climate change, what is climate justice? Yeah, right there. So when addressing issues related to climate, we also need to acknowledge that climate change has differing social, economic, public health, and other adverse effects on underprivileged populations. People in developing countries, young people, they tend to have and experience the largest impacts of climate change, but they're the ones who aren't really contributing as much to climate change. So even when we use blockchain technology, when we think about solutions, we have to think about the people here. How can we be most inclusive to them? And how do we address all these other underlying causes of climate vulnerabilities? So there's a lot of social issues that are all intertwined with one another that are all related to climate sensitivities, those being racial segregation, income inequality, poverty, gaps in education, and a lot of different social factors too can make people more sensitive to climate. Those are other factors such as access to affordable housing, access to reliable transportation, and also just age, illness, mental or physical disabilities. All those compounded with one another can also impact somebody's sensitivity to climate change. And the last part, with climate justice, we also need to acknowledge environmental racism. It's nothing new. Specifically in the United States, race is the most significant predictor of a person living near a contaminated air, water, or soil area. And a lot of those areas have been deemed non-attainment zones by the Environmental Protection Agency. And those are areas where they tend to be closer to factories. They tend to be closer to places where their air, their water, their soil is polluted. And sometimes the people don't have the political power to fight against all these, there's somebody waiting in the room. All these different laws have made it so that it's unfair for these people. So emerging technologies such as blockchain technology need to be inclusive of different cultures and of the poor too. And climate justice is also related to economic empowerment. And I think blockchain technology, and interestingly enough, cryptocurrency, can be used to empower people around the world. Right now, there are hundreds of millions of people on this planet, especially in developing countries, who don't even have access to a bank account. They don't have basic access to financial services. And this is partly for the reasons of gender, if they have laws in their country that prevent them from having a bank account or access without maybe a male supervisor or guardian, or if they just don't have the infrastructure yet in their country to have a bank. So digital systems that are decentralized, that don't rely on a big bank, they don't rely on a big institution, those can be run by the people and run by the people who actually want to operate in a way that just mirror the values of the people who use the system. those can allow people to be custodians of their own assets rather than the bank taking a large share. Right, next. Okay, so when I first said cryptocurrency, you probably thought, I know a lot of people think crypto is super duper energy intensive, and you're totally right with that. Right now, Bitcoin uses more energy per year than the entire country of Switzerland, and that's insane. We want to change that, but there are solutions to both make Bitcoin more energy efficient and also switch towards more solutions that are both fighting climate change and just alternatives to Bitcoin. So I want to go over 5 different solutions. So the first way is to invest and just support less energy intensive cryptocurrencies. I believe that there's a lot of benefits of cryptocurrencies, and we are moving towards a state of just digitization, digital money, and people just like using credit cards or just other forms of money rather than fiat currency. And I think we're going to move more and more towards that situation. So something like Bitcoin is proof of work. The way it works is that a bunch of people on large supercomputers compete against one another to solve algorithmic puzzles. The way that Bitcoin works is that the more energy you use, basically, the more work you do on these supercomputers, the more likely it is that you can earn another Bitcoin. That's really wasteful energy-wise. And I think as Bitcoin grows and as it becomes more and more difficult to mine for one Bitcoin, we're going to see more and more energy problems. One solution is to move more towards proof of stake. With proof of stake, rather than using a supercomputer, you can just use a regular laptop or a Raspberry Pi or Raspberry Node. That's one way that people have been staking for other cryptocurrencies. And the way that works is that the more people who decide to delegate their money or think about how you can get interest for parking your money in the bank for a bit, you can actually get staking rewards for parking your crypto in a stake pool. So as a collective, if people decide to move more of the cryptocurrency in a stake pool, the more likely as a collective, everyone gets rewards. So that's a lot less energy intensive. There has been a lot of research recently on making things that are proof of work like Bitcoin less energy intensive. There's been a study on proof of useful work. So rather than just solving useless algorithms and all these different puzzles, you can actually validate work on supercomputers that needs to be done for like medical research, scientific research. And if those computers have to do that work anyways and do that for the name of science, that could be a direction that Bitcoin can go towards, but that's still in the works. And I think we should be looking at all solutions, but I think proof of stake will take away some of the weight from all the proof of work cryptocurrencies and the energy that they have to use right now. This one's pretty controversial. Some people have said that we can support proof of work mining with renewable energy. Unfortunately, since China banned crypto mining, there have been less crypto miners actually using renewable energy. One unique case, though, was El Salvador, where they use geothermal energy because they have volcanoes there that allows them to do that. But not every country has renewable resources, and you can't take away like the renewable resources for people to maybe light up their homes and stuff like that. So that one's kind of controversial. That is one that is a solution that some people have proposed. You can also reduce emissions and waste on the supply chain by just tracking your different materials with blockchain technology. This could be a great way to support the circular economy. I've seen a case where there have been companies that are building homes and they've tracked all the materials that go into building the home. So maybe years and years, maybe like 50 to 100 years from now, if the company still exists, they want to keep that going, they can get those materials from those homes and they can reuse them. So it's a cradle to grave system. And you can have a good audit of where the materials went, where they were sourced from, and where they're going in the future. This one, I think, is of interest to a lot of people who are in global unity and the people who organize this. One way to fund climate solutions is through DAOS, a decentralized autonomous organization. You can have a smart contract or a token system that allows members to vote for projects that they want to support, and they can vote for the ways that the money is going. Again, with a DAO, you have to think about environmental racism. You have to think about all the different people impacted by the climate crisis. And I think DAOs are the most effective if you have diverse voices there. So they can't just be the wealthy who are already in blockchain. You have to make sure that the people who are really impacted the most by climate are also, they also have a vote. They also have a say in this DAO. So I think this has a lot of potential, just the space needs to grow to allow more people to have a voice with DAOs. And finally, this is an up and coming one, but NFTs could be an alternative in the future for some shopping and travel emissions, rather than maybe having to buy a shirt and having models and people just having to pay for people in other countries to make their clothing. Sometimes that can be unsustainable. A lot of times they're child workers who don't even get paid enough. These clothings don't even have to exist. You can have an NFT version of the clothing. It can be unique, it can be non-replicable, but you can have it so that you're the unique person who owns that one piece of clothing that's on just a model or a photo on Instagram or something. In the future too, I think we can get to a point of technology where you don't have to travel as much. You can see different parts of the world with the metaverse or NFT replicas. And obviously this is not going to completely do away with all travel, but I think a lot of travel and a lot of emissions can be reduced if you do something more virtual. All right, just a little on economic empowerment. Next one. So there's different ways that crypto is already being used to empower people around the world, especially in places in the Middle East. There are women who aren't allowed to get access to their bank accounts without a male guardian. With cryptocurrency, though, there aren't certain KYC, know your client processes, so that women and people in marginalized areas, they're actually allowed to use cryptocurrency without the barrier of a bank having all these laws. So this has empowered some women to have control over their finances. Another way to empower people is by making sure that they have good access to education and that their educational records are tracked on the blockchain and legitimate. There are some countries, if they're in a state of war, where their records aren't as secure, and they might not have a way or a system to track the educational progress of their students so that they can get into college in the future. Just recently, the Cardano Foundation partnered with the Ministry of Education in Ethiopia. So there's about 5 million children there in Ethiopia now who have their educational record tracked, and the children there are going to have a much higher chance of getting into college just to show their educational records and that they're qualified to go to different schools in the future. So that's one way that employment can increase and employment opportunities can increase with blockchain. And lastly, last slide here, again with token governance, there's another project called World Mobile, and they're connecting the unconnected and providing internet access. The way it works is that they're making sure that the barrier of the telco industry isn't getting in the way of people in developing countries from getting internet. Right now, a lot of the big companies only go to the places that are most profitable. But with a token governance system, they're actually making it so that people in a small rural village can choose to run a little thing called an air node. And they can install that over their own home in their own neighborhood. And they can get their community to start running the system without having a whole big telco company coming into their neighborhood and having to pay extra money for that. So it's a way to empower smaller businesses. And it's a way for people to both own their internet access and also just get more people connected to the world economy through the internet. And I think that was my last slide. The last one with my contact info. Yep, that's it. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Sorry, I was losing my voice a little bit today.